They're now Thursday regular Barnaby Joyce, the Nationals frontbencher and former Deputy Prime Minister. Barnaby,
Yes.
Lovely to see you again. Look, I've shown some of these extraordinary questions, badgering of coalition politicians. Do you believe in climate change? Should you be scaring voters about this crime rate? And, are trans women actually women or whatever? On it goes. How do you keep your cool and answer them?
Well, I think the best thing is to be straight and not care about the response. Realise that you're talking to a reporter who's talking to, an absolutely vibrant 25% of Australia. You need to win on 50% plus one person. Do not make everybody love you. It's irrelevant. Make sure that you keep true to yourself and answer the questions as you see fit. And also don't follow the talking points of the bouncing ball of the leader's office, because they come across as non-authentic. If you don't want to answer a question, just don't answer it, but don't answer it with BS. Look, when you think about it, like all these questions about trans and climate change and all, is that actually helping the person who's dealing with the cost of living? Is that actually helping the pensioner who can't afford the
No, none of it does, no.
No, and that's what you've got.
It's just thought crimes, Barnaby. I mean, do you think women really are weaker than men, in a hostile vote? I mean, seriously, Barnaby, that question, for instance.
But the thing about it is,
how would you answer that?
Look, I'd ask the question back. I say, I've got a pensioner who's about to be kicked out of their house and put in a car to live. Do you believe that I should be worrying about her or worrying about 82% renewables till 2030? Which one do you reckon is the primary concern of that lady who I represented in New England in the hills? Which one do you reckon she wants me to go to Canberra and bat for? Like, if you want, I can go down there and bang on about trans rights and, because these are peripheral issues, trans rights and, intermittent power, so-called renewables. Or I can say, my job is to bring dignity back to this lady's life, to get her back in her house, to get her so she can afford her groceries, to make sure that she lives a life that warrants respect, that she's not diminished as a human being. And when you actually talk like that, everybody else, 50% plus one person, they come along with you. But if you say, oh, yes, I'm worried about how the trans people will see 82% renewables, and I want to make sure that, that we don't offend anybody, because I also believe in farmers as well. I believe in farmers, and I also believe in animals. I love fluffy animals and all sorts of wonderful things. And people just go, give up, mate. You believe in nothing.
But Barnaby, it's so intense. I'm trying to think of any other country which so regularly in a campaign expects the Prime Minister and the opposition leader and also deputies, but those two in particular, to front up as many as 2 or 3 times a day in front of reporters and to be treated like dirt. I mean, some of these, kids about 25, they've seen nothing, they've got a sarcastic smirk on their face and meh, that kind of stuff. Honestly, we expect the politicians to stand up there again and again and take this. I don't see it. Joe Biden never fronted up to a press conference like that. What is this ritual?
Do you think Dwight Eisenhower would have put up with that rubbish? Do you think that, honestly, that Xi Jinping has to deal with that rubbish? This is not. What you have there is a little hero from the Fourth Estate, or a little lady from the Fourth, so whatever, little lady, little man, whatever, coming up and going, you really got under his skin today, hoorah, hoorah.
That's it.
Aren't I a champion? We'll all go have a cup of coffee. I stuck it to the Tories. And it's all about their peeing competition back in the Bureau. It's not about what the Australian people really want to hear, because I can tell you, the Australian people don't give a toss about how much intermittent power you got. Or not the 70%, I would suggest. And the Australian people, whatever blows your hair back, if you got any left about your sexuality, knock yourself out. But as far as being part of the national debate for an election, give me a break. No one cares about that.
Oh, I think it's worse. No, Barnaby, I think it's worse than that. If they came out of a press conference with Joyce snaps at reporter, and even better, their name. That's marvellous. That's a calling card. Have you ever lost your temper at a reporter on the campaign trail?
Quite often I have lost my temper at reporters on the campaign trail. Very lot. But, rarely do I say unto thee that I have lost my cool with reporters. If I think that their purpose in life is not about a question about our nation, about a seminal issue that will make us strong as possible, as quickly as possible, that will keep us protected from the problems that are on our borders, such as the Chinese Communist Party circumnavigating Australia, having live fire exercises off Sydney, for goodness sake, Sydney. I just can't believe why no one gets onto that. But, and I think they're just in the minutiae, trying to make a big swinger of themselves back in the Bureau and not actually really focusing on what the Australian people want. Yeah, I will lose my temper with them. I do not mind tough questions, absolutely. And I do not mind cogent, tough questions from people who are professionals. And absolutely, I like them. I have people adversaries to you, whether it's Patricia Cavallis or people from Fairfax. I actually like it. I like to get on the balls of my toes and fight for my space. But I just don't want BS questions about prattle from the peripheries that has no real effect apart from blowing up the ego or blowing the balloon of ego up from some little pimply-faced nobody.
Moving on from that, Anzac Day tomorrow. I know you're always at a ceremony. You will be, I guess, at your local commemoration tomorrow. I don't know. What's the best ceremony you've ever been to?
One of the most humbling ceremonies is when I was the presiding politician at the Australian War Memorial and 40,000 people turned up in the rain with their umbrellas in the dark. They're not there to be seen. They're not there to make a big man or big lady of themselves. They're there out of belief of our nation and respect for their families and respect for the people who have loved and died and fought and suffered on behalf of our nation and the freedom of all. And I looked out on that crowd at the Australian War Memorial and I thought, what an incredible nation we are, because there's not one of these people who's here to be seen because it's dark and raining and they're carrying an umbrella. Isn't that just the most powerful thing?
Barnaby Joyce, have a great Anzac Day tomorrow. It is still one of the very, very few ceremonies we have left to try to build a community out of what's increasingly a nation of tribes. Long may it last, and thank you so much for your time.